Good day, everyone. Today is going to be an interesting day, I promise you, because who I have on the set today with me is a completely awesome brother. We have known for nearly 30 years. We went to the same primary school and we have been friends since forever. I won't talk much, but he is a professor. So I have so many friends who are PhDs. I call them professor, but this one, I am not only the person that has certified this professorship, his employers have also certified this professorship. Please, without further ado, help me welcome to my set and to this conversation, Professor Hafiz Alaka. I am the only person that put that Alabi, and I put it intentionally. Okay, Hafiz, how far?
I did. Thank you, Baba. I think you wanted to say we went to the same primary and secondary school.
Yes. And, I like to kick this off by telling you that we were brainwashed in Toibat. And that is why a lot of us that went through that system are always pushing to be the best at what we do. Okay, I'll ask you now, do you know how we were brainwashed?
So you've already given it out to be the first or to be the first or something like that. I think that's what you're trying to talk about.
To either be the first or with the first.
Or with the first.
In all endeavors.
Be either the first or with the first, yes.
In all endeavors.
In all endeavors, absolutely.
Absolutely. I don't know about anybody else, but that theme stuck with me. And now you know why in Toibat I was the way I was, But now the intensity of me wanting to be the best in what I do has reduced. I'm not that aggressive.
Competition reduces as we grow. We realize everything is not a competition anymore.
Actually, I wasn't competitive in Toibat. I was not competitive. I just wanted to be the best at what I do. I wasn't competitive because I wasn't. Anyways, back to you. So you were one of those guys that skipped a class in their primary school, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, I think that affected you a bit when you got to the secondary school. What would be your inferences from that experience?
I think the first thing to say is that I actually skipped 2 classes. It's only that it's sort of become normal in Nigeria for people to skip 1 class, which is primary 6. And I was speaking to a friend recently whose son, I was persuading him to let his son go through the primary 6 class, and that was going to prepare him very well for JS1. And what he told me was that all the students in primary 5 were going to go to JS1, and the school was telling him, there's no way we can teach only your son in primary 6. And I was like, wow, that's terrible, because I graduated from primary 4, which is why you said I've skipped 1 class, and it's becoming normal for people to go from primary 5 at this moment. Of course, it affected me a lot. The inference I would draw from that is that there are 2 ways it affects you. So first and foremost is that it doesn't prepare you properly for the JS1 class. So essentially, in primary 4, even though I can remember vividly those things, I think I never really heard of using the letter X in mathematics. And so when I got to JS1 and I saw X and they were putting letters in maths, I thought they were, a bit crazy or something. But I couldn't say anything because a few others understood what was going on. I think that was normally introduced, a bit in primary 5 and a lot more in primary 6, and the person would just move smoothly into JS1 according to the curriculum. So that affected me a lot. And I realized if that, thinking about it now, if that's the way it affected me in maths, I can pinpoint the maths problem. It probably had a similar effect in other subjects. And that's not the end. I think the bigger problem is once that problem kicks in and nothing is able to convince you that X is supposed to be in maths and whatever other things that are being introduced that you never had experience of are supposed to be there, you sort of switch off. because it becomes a case of these people are mad. How do they know this? And then if you ever sought help, which we didn't usually do in JSS1, to say, oh, my friend, you know this, can you sit down and teach me? We didn't really used to do that. But even if you did that, the person teaching you will be teaching you from the perspective that you already had some knowledge of this. The person won't be teaching you, he's your classmate, isn't he? He won't be teaching you like, oh, this boy graduated from primary 4. He needs some primary 5 and primary 6 knowledge in order to get here. He will still be teaching you from that top level, and then you never get it. Now, the second part is the confidence, and that's the worst part. So when it hits your confidence, because you're doing well from your primary school days, or you're doing average, or whatever level you were doing, you definitely fall a lot more. Obviously, to go from primary 4, you must have been performing very well. You know, I had many teachers telling my parents, let him go, he's so good. He's going to be, you know, he will be able to handle it and all of that. So once we got there, and probably out of the class, I don't know what my position was, but I used to be like, you know, 20 something out of 30. I had never had that. I was never even 5th in my primary school. I was always 1st, 2nd. The very worst case was to be 3rd. You know, I was 20 something. In the exam hall, I didn't understand the questions. I just pushed through somehow and all of that. So the two things, it's first, it affects, you know, what you can understand they are doing. And secondly, it affects the confidence. And once it affects the confidence, you sort of switch off and then go into that lonely place where you start hiding from everybody. You don't want to talk about studies. You don't want to talk about your result and all of that. So if I just stop there because of time, I think that's what I would draw from that.
Yeah, and when we got to the XS class, that was when you began to level up, if I may use that word. And you know, what I think helped you in SS class was you started having some extramural classes with the likes of Mr. Bayo and Mr. Ike. Then Mr. Ike took it off, I think, for the longer part of it. But when I knew that that switch has come on was a chemistry exam, I will never forget that exam. In that exam, you drew the electrochemical series. I won't forget, you know, and that's over 20 years now. You drew the electrochemical series in an exam hall, okay? You spoke about your confidence and you spoke about how so many things didn't just make sense to you. At what point in SS class, my thought would be that it was between the end of SS1 and SS2, that genius in you woke up again and you became very, very, how do I put it now, unbeatable, okay, if I may. What switched it on for you again? What exactly?
Thank you very much. I mean, you're touching real parts of my personal life, to be honest. And it's something that I've thought over and over. So I was going to say, one thing I don't really like about these interviews is, even though you told me for, you know, so long ago, I didn't really prepare. Like, and you know, when things are recorded, you're bound to listen to it and think, oh, I should have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. But I think you're talking about a few things that I've really thought of in my life, because I keep, you know, looking at my situation and how everything evolved and everything. And I used to say, oh, alhamdulillah, thank God. What if that switch on didn't happen at that point in time? It would have been disastrous for me. Absolutely. Okay. So I would say what switched me on, I can't guarantee it can always be a switch on, because I myself feel like it might not have switched me on properly. So I was given first to Mr. Bayo. Mr. Bayo had quite a number of lesson students and just taught us as normal. He just delivered his work as normal in the SS1, JS3/SS1. And he was quite nice and free. So that meant that even if you didn't know it, you know, there was no pressure. That was the problem I had there. Human beings are different. Some people, when you give them the freedom, that's when they thrive. I think I'm not, when I was young, I wasn't that person that if you just gave me things and you didn't, you know, there was not a bit of pressure, I would have thrived. So I didn't thrive that much with Mr. Bayo. I think the biggest switch came when I was going to SS2 from SS1, and I was promoted on trial. I was at home, I was ill. I don't know if I was ill because I was so scared of the results, because I was getting results that was crazy. And by the time I did this, was on third term exam, I could, you can tell, like, you don't know anything, you want to copy in the exam, and now you've not been successful in copying. I was trying to sit beside you, my friend, Aziz, Dipo. I think Dipo left at some point. I would always want to sit next to you guys. I would always want to copy one or two things. And it's a bit of the few things I knew and the few things I copied that always got me up to the 40-something pass mark, except in few subjects that I probably was just naturally good in, or some things that were said that I just caught up with naturally. So when I was at home and my elder brother went to school to get the results, at the time the results came up, I was ill, I was on the sofa, I was praying all day long. In fact, I had been praying to God days before that. Please, please let me promote, don't let me fail and repeat this class. Oh God, please help me. So when he came in, he just came in and said, bah, oh, promote on trial. I wasn't disappointed. I was thankful. I was thankful to have been promoted on trial, that, and this is all about your friends not leaving you. Imagine the people, you're going to be in the junior class, you're going to be classmates with the junior class and all of that. So I was quite thankful and all of that. But my mom got mad and mad. She used to get mad. May Allah forgive her soul and her sins and everything and grant her Jannah. She used to get mad. And say, oh, I'm going to report you to Lukman, who is the principal. I'm going to report you to Lukman. I said, no, don't worry. I'm going to improve, but that's it. So this time around, she came and she came and she was like, I've been told you're playing again, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to report you to Lukman. But that motherly love stops her, because she knows that with the principal, you're going to get whipped, into your senses. So she wanted me to get back to my senses, but she saw the fear on my face all the time, and she couldn't bear to carry it out. But luckily for me, on this particular day, as she made the threat, Mr. Lukman came around. He was just passing by, and he saw me and my mom. And my mom just said, "Oti etida Lukman wa," and I was peeing in my, in my shorts, and she laid down the whole thing, and he was like, of course, he knew all the while, but it depends, it's a choice for you what you want to do, that he has a brother called Ike who delivers good lesson, and if my mom was interested in that, he can guarantee that there will be a change. And my mom said, absolutely, name your price, blah, 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 blah. And that was how I got to Uncle Ike. Now, the difference was that Uncle Ike now, he's going to whip you, but he won't just whip you. He will also report you to Mr. Lukman. So it's double tragedy. And that was what switched me on. So I went to lessons with the mind that I have to know this, rather than I can't know this, which is the attitude I had to class because of the whole exit situation right from JS1. So I said, can I know this? Why can't I know this? Why do I have to be whipped? And this is why I said what triggered me might not be the trigger for some other people. So I went to the lesson. I don't want to say Mr. Bayer's lesson wasn't as good, but Mr. Bayer would come. Whereas Mr. Ike had a flat in our compound. So we barely ever miss the class. Mr. Bayer might not come, he might come, you might not find him, he might not find you, he can give excuses even when he comes. He can come too late. He can come sometimes 8:30 p.m. But Mr. Ike, we had the class 5 p.m. It's you who has to go to his flat. You don't go there, you are in trouble. So there was a bit more consistency. And then when I got to start, I went there with a few colleagues whose names I wouldn't mention, who we were in similar shoes, And then because there were just about 3 of us and he was talking to us directly, it's easy to say, what did I just say? Rather than a class, And so because he couldn't say, what did I say? You, You say you, and then it goes 4 of you. So it's coming to you. It's not a random stuff whereby today you get caught and you get beaten, but again, another 2 months, you're off. You're there every day. So I was concentrating, and what did I just say? I'll say this. What did I just say? I'll say this. And he said, good. I said, good? That's good? Is that good? Am I shining? Oh, if that is it, I better shine. And then he kept on saying, what's the blah, blah, blah? I can't talk. Talk. He put his cane away and say, be confident. And then I say, sulfuric acid. That's the old name. It's tetroxophosphoric. That's it in a nutshell, And so now, the first I realized, okay, if that's what you call good, I can be good. That's one. 2, I picked up the confidence within the lesson. It didn't take time at all before I became the best. So those 2 things came back. The potential that, okay, I can know this came there. The second thing that came was I had the confidence. And what did that trigger? I started biting more than I can chew. I just said, people have been saying they finished Ababio. I'll finish Ababio. People have been saying they finished Abbott. I'll finish Abbott. So that zeal and all of that. I don't know if I'm eating into other questions, but that's how, all the turning up came about.
So, you got very, very smart, book smart again, SS2, SS3. We finished from Toybat, awesome. And we all flunked our jam. All of us in our clique, we flunked our jam. And we went to buy IJMB form. Okay. You, myself, and Dipo. Though Aziz passed his jam, so he got admission into Ife.
Aziz passed, yes.
Yeah. But the 3 of us others, we flunked our jam and we went to buy IJMB form. I went for IJMB. At the time, you were looking to travel out of Nigeria. Dipo went to Yabatech. But before I go into that, let's go into 2 other things you did with unimaginable intensity too. Football, physically, and FIFA, PlayStation. I don't think I know anybody that played FIFA, PlayStation than you. You were so addicted that you bought yourself a TV so that you wouldn't disturb the family TV and bought yourself a PlayStation. And there was a time somebody in tech, argued with you and said he was going to trash you. You said, okay, wait till after exam. You went home, took your PlayStation, took your TV, and went to tech to trash the guy. So why is it that whatever you did, and even do till date, where do you get the energy? Where do you get the energy from to just focus and say, I want to be the best at this thing? Is it the brainwash I spoke about earlier?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a brainwash. I'll attribute it more to a trait, a gene, and a hereditary thing, So we all have it in my family. The key challenge, or the 2 key challenges, one of the key challenges is to be able to channel it to a good cause. That's a major problem, because it's there in itself. If you keep going, you would find something that will, bring your interest so hard. It's for you to decide if this is the right place to put my interest, right? And the second one is to keep it going once you achieve something you think you want to achieve. Those are the 2 key challenges. So you're very correct. I liked football a lot, and I eventually played football after university, although I got more used to street football in my estate rather than the on-field football. And I played PlayStation, but it was more of Konami Pro Evolution Soccer. That's the one, not FIFA. And I got very good at it, that for all the versions that I played so well, I never met someone that was going to beat me. That's past now. As you rightly said, in Yabatech, somebody challenged me and I said, after exam. That's the ability to channel the determination to the right place. I had equal determination for my studies. If that was the JS2, JS3 boy. Forget the fact that I was younger, but with the way I took my studies then, I would have gone to get the PlayStation and everything there and then during the semester and forget what the studies were. So it's more of a hereditary thing. It's more of a gene thing. Virtually all my family members have it. When you find something that eventually turns you up so bad, and then you get that determination, and you have an eye on a prize. Like, okay, PlayStation, I wasn't just the one playing it, I was playing with friends and I wanted to be the best. So that was the prize. The education, once I got that, to know this, I was determined to get back to my previous self. That was the prize. Football is just something we all speak about, and but boy, you're good, go. And I wanted to be that, Hafiz, Ogbonongo. Even though I never got to that stage in the on-field football, I got to it in the street football. But again, there was a prize. But like I said, the challenge is find the right place. And the second is when you get the prize, can you keep going? Those are the two key challenges.
Awesome. And, tech, you had upper both diplomas. And I saw it in you that you didn't want to stop, because on 2 occasions, you tried to do direct entry to University of Ilorin and perhaps other universities too, but that didn't happen. And you didn't stop still. You did not stop. So you found yourself in Cyprus. And after a while, because internet wasn't this easy at the time, far back.
Absolutely.
And after a while, I just heard, okay, I've crossed to the UK to do top-up degree in civil engineering. So I was like, wow, I didn't know this. So how did you get to decide that Cyprus wasn't for you and going to UK might be a better progression for you at the time?
Okay. Thank you. That's another very good question. The first thing is that if I was to travel abroad to Europe or any Western country, I always looked at the UK because we were using the UK curriculum in Nigeria, and I had about a few people that had gone to Canada or US who, instead of using meters as we did in engineering, they were using feet and the like. And I always thought that would just be extra burden. Why not just go to a place whereby you understand all of those things? But as you said, I found myself in Cyprus, of which you were you had a major part, a major role to play in that. It was through you that I got the whole idea. And how did I decide Cyprus wasn't for me? Well, I got to Cyprus and I did well. Of course, I was determined. I did ND and HND, like you said. I didn't stop going, simply because of a simple fact that all Nigerians know, at least educated Nigerians, you sort of need a degree beyond a diploma if you want to thrive. And I just felt like, well, I won't stop. Even after HND, I applied to get into uni, but on 200 level, I still didn't get it. So found myself in Cyprus, thank God. And but I think the key problem I had in Cyprus was that I heard them discussing that the universities were putting effort together to go to Nigeria to get accreditation from Nigeria University Commission, right? And then for them they were now going to announce that on TV stations that if you come to Cyprus, they're actually accredited by NUC. That really put me off. I was like, how? Even the Nigerian universities are already accredited by NUC. What do you mean I'll travel abroad, pay a lot of money? I'm supposed to go to a university whereby when people see my certificate, they'll automatically feel like, oh, great. That's why I felt this place is not for me. That's that. So I finished that. My friend was in the UK as at that point in time. I spoke to my dad and a few family things came up and he approved me going to the UK because my dad was the one sponsoring my education up until that point. And what I did was I took a lot of time on the internet. I actually met a few agents to ask if I can get a top up, given that I had done ND, HND, 5 years, IT, go to Cyprus, done part MSc and all of that. And the agent promised to get a top up. By the time he got it, he didn't get a top up. I spent a lot of time on the internet and somehow I got a list of universities that were doing top up in civil engineering and I applied myself. So I had to do it all by myself, just read it, I'd gotten to a stage where I felt like the internet is there, the information is there. Why don't you just give it a try first rather than running around? So I gave it a try, I applied, and I got the admission, and I went there and I did that, and then did my MSc and so on and so forth.
But this academic thing, as in being a teacher, a professor, an academia, was not in the plan. You were an industry guy. In fact, you were the first to teach me AutoCAD. You put me on the journey of AutoCAD, So you were an industry guy. You did some IT, some industry engagement in Nigeria. At what point did it strike you that, I want to be a lecturer?
Okay, thank you again. I think there's always been an element of lecturer in me since I got to higher institution, given that the environment influences you a lot. I saw lecturers and I always felt like, wow, I'd love to be a lecturer, have students, but I'll do things differently. I won't just come to the class anytime. I won't, punish students for not paying or not coming early and all of that and take their marks away and blah, blah, blah. So I always had a bit of element of that in me on one side, but I think what really struck me at some point was that every time I tried to help my colleagues with something, and I usually took help from a lot of people, because even though I got hot in my SS2, SS3 before I got into Yaba Tech, the truth is that the foundation was still poor. So a lot of times when I learned something on the top, I had to go back to learn the foundation during that time. And there was not enough time for me to repair the whole sort of foundation. So now when I got to Yaba Tech, I still struggled a bit with certain things. The only difference is I said, I'll take away the shyness and I'm going to meet whoever knows it. So I met people, and whoever was willing to help me, I always got that help. So I used to get help. But once I knew it, if somebody else comes while I'm there, I'll say, just hold on. Let me see if I can help him, and then correct me if I'm going wrong. And then I helped, and people would be like, wow, this guy explained and I just understood it once. You'll be a great teacher. Oh, you'll be wasting your talent if you are not a teacher. I had this, countless number of times. And that's when I started growing into that and feeling like, well, I'm a good teacher. I did it to the MSS. They would look for someone to teach the junior level, students, and I would volunteer for whatever I had a lot of confidence in. Back then, it used to be the structural drawing. I understood it a lot because I understood technical drawing from time. So I didn't need a lot of background. I wasn't going to volunteer for maths back then, but I was going to pass my exams, usually with an A and B, but it would be with meeting people, running around and all of that. So that's when all of that developed, like, oh, you know what? I think I'm a good teacher. So what do I need to then during my NYC, I volunteered as a teacher, even though I was posted elsewhere. And then I started looking, okay, I'd always thought of, being a lecturer. What do I need to be a lecturer anyway? A PhD. Oh, I'm going to go for a PhD. And once I got on the PhD journey, even before I got on the PhD journey, I was a lecturer at Kwara State University. So once I finished my MSc, right from before I finished my MSc, I was applying to lecturing jobs in Nigeria, knowing that I was going back to Nigeria. So yes, it was that time at Yaba Tech when I started teaching people, and people felt like, oh, you teach so well. And I still did that during my BSc and MSc, and everybody I taught felt exactly the same way. I said, okay, don't waste this talent. I think you're very much at ease when you do this thing.
Wow. And for me, I wasn't surprised particularly because you've always been, one, a talkative. We all are anyway. Two, you like to explain from the beginning to the end. So, I mean, what more can you be if you are not a teacher? Then you were in Kwara State University, and you were going to also wait a bit before you went for your master's. I mean, for your PhD. But you got an opportunity, you left KWASU and went for that PhD, right? did your PhD again, construction management, something like that. Into the PhD, you caught the bug of data and big data and data. How did that switch, did that switch come about? And the second thing is that also in your engineering journey, you are not particularly into the structural thing that we have always known you to be in. Now you seem to be an environmental guy. Would you want to talk more about that?
So even my MSc was in structural engineering. And I was in KwaZulu and I wanted to do a PhD, obviously. And then I got I got a few admissions. So I had admission in where I had my MSc, but the scholarship, I wasn't too happy with it because I wanted to bring my wife down. And I thought that, okay, I might survive on all of this, but it might be more difficult if I bring my wife down. And she had been waiting, while I did all of those things. Obviously, the time didn't wait for us, unfortunately. The ND, IT, HND, and all of that. I got admission in Canada as well, but it came with a teaching assistant role, which wasn't guaranteed all the time. And then I got admission into where I actually did my PhD and research fellow at the same time, which was University of West of England. And that came with the maximum you would get as a student. You couldn't get any other thing, I think Leeds, it came with about half what I would get, but the full fees was paid. Canada got, the teaching assistant wasn't certain after a year or two, but this one came with, for the full period, you'll be paid full stipend and all of that. So the challenge was, this one had more of construction management, the one that had everything, while the others, they were more in my line, structures. So I think the one in Canada was more materials, which still had a bit to do with structures, and the one in Leeds was more structures. In terms of career path and the subject area I wanted to research, both of them, Canada and Leeds, were better for me, but they didn't have the money. But we had, as we grow up, for whatever reason, we tend to understand the value of money better. It wasn't the case of my dad sponsoring me anymore this time around. So what I then thought was that, okay, in order to take my family, I probably should take this one that has construction management. Plus, I had met the professor while doing my MSc, by doing my BSc, and he wanted me so badly. He saw my results, he did everything, and he wanted me. He's a Muslim, and he's my mentor, Professor Lukman. So he gave me a call and sort of persuaded me and made me understand, look, structures, they've done almost all the research that can be done there. It's existed for so long as a topic area. You can teach it, but there's not a lot of research left in it. However, construction management, has only just grown. There's still a lot of things you can do in that area and all of that. So I took the construction management because of the money, whether you like it or not, and because of the persuasion from the mentor, because the person I'm talking about was a major factor in me deciding to do MSc in structural engineering. It was the one that advised me that don't do MSc civil. You've been doing civil. Do something that is a bit more specific. So I used to go to him a lot when I had to do anything academia, or anything that has to do with academics. I knew him during my BEng, like I said. So I took that, okay, this person that I sort of look up to, that is my mentor and all of that, that was a major factor, because I didn't want it when I was given. I didn't want it at all. So I prayed about it, to be honest. I told my wife, and then I came down. But, if it was half stipend, I probably wouldn't have taken it. That's where the money case also comes in. So it's a case of this mentor who has persuaded me and the fact that this has the money. So I took that and I was able to take my wife. But I spent most of the first year lamenting that I hope I'm taking the right decision. And I was praying, because what essentially happened was that I wasn't performing to his satisfaction, my mentor, because he thought very, highly about me. But I was having to move a lot away from what I knew how to do into what he wanted me to do. And so, and his type of person is, he leaves you, he gives you something, and he leaves you to go and, swim or die trying, that sort of thing. So as he complained bitterly, that was a bit of a fuel for me, even though I wasn't happy. I needed to sort of fulfill the potential he saw in me and make him happy, that sort of thing. And make myself happy as well, not just him. So I kept on working, and every time he explained what he wanted me to do, and I looked at it and I wasn't really thinking from the theoretical perspective a lot. People wrote a lot of things and did interviews, and I wasn't that type of person. And this is where the engineering shift came. So the engineering shifted to construction technology management. I started thinking about writing, and I was beginning to do things in that way. But along the line, I stumbled upon people who actually used digital technologies to solve the same problem, which was looking into bankruptcy or insolvency or failure of construction firms. And they used machine learning. They used statistical methods, but somebody used machine learning. But it was a bit old and nobody else used it. And then I showed my supervisor thinking he would have an idea. He didn't. And then I went, and after reading a lot of papers that didn't have anything to do with construction management and had machine learning, I thought, well, I don't think this will be possible. It's extremely different from what I know and all of that. So I showed him and I said, how can I understand this? How can I understand this? It's impossible. But luckily for me, we had someone in my team called Bilal, who is an IT guy. We had 2 IT guys in our team, but Bilal is from Pakistan and he's a guy with big data and machine learning. And after reading, it took a lot of reading. I started reading about how they applied the machine learning and all of that. I started having an idea of what they did, but not how to do it. So this is how they did it, but I cannot implement any of those things. So Bilal said, I can teach you this, I can teach you that, but you would have to take the rest and fly. And that's exactly what happened. So it taught me a few things. I went for a few courses, which people do now. A lot of people do a lot of courses. So back then I went for a few courses, and luckily for me, I knew the problem I was trying to solve. So as I took the course, I just slot the problem into it. And that was the beginning of the journey. I learned a lot of courses. I started my hands-on and I said, oh, this is interesting. But the engineering background and a bit of understanding of mathematics went a long way in beginning to go the machine learning, coding, putting the data together. On my understanding of Excel, I understand Microsoft Office suite, PowerPoint, Excel, and Word to a reasonable extent. And the fact that you could easily Google, for whatever you wanted to do, so long as you have the basic knowledge. All of those things played a massive role in what I did. And so it took me, did I dedicate another 4 or 5 months of my PhD to that? Probably. To just switch off from the work, the real PhD, and then have an understanding of what I wanted to do. And by the time I finished it, my supervisor was like, wow, Abdulhafiz, you're not disappointing me in any way. In fact, he shook me, and then, anyway, the rest is history. That's I think that answers your question.
Yeah, good stuff. So currently you are the head of big data, in your
Big data technologies and innovation lab.
Yeah. And that has been for, I think, 2 years now, right?
Since July 2019 or thereabout.
Yeah, so going to 3 already.
Yes.
What do you guys do in your lab? What is your core responsibility in your lab?
Our core responsibility in our lab is to apply contemporary technologies to real life challenges. So we look at contemporary technologies, big data analytics, machine learning, Internet of Things, virtual reality, blockchain, and the likes. And then we look at what's the real life problem beyond academic problem. Okay, so at this moment, a lot of companies want to say they are doing big data because it adds to their commercial value. Merely saying big data. In fact, between me and you might know this, some employ machine learning experts, big data experts, without really needing them. And when they are sitting there for too long, they give them other tasks, which those coders are not happy with. But the company wants to be able to say, we do this. because it adds to their commercial value. And if there's any case where they needed to present their big data skills, they'll bring the big data guy and all of that. But we're saying that, okay, let's look at your challenges. Can we actually bring machine learning and all the advantages that has been touted about machine learning or any other contemporary technologies? Can we pull out all of those stuff from the box and say, oh, these are the advantages and we are applying it to you, and are you getting the benefit? So, because we might be able to, there are about 3 problems. First is to apply it. To apply it, there's something called problem definition, which some people understand. So you create a problem. Okay, so they have a problem, but the problem is not machine learning based, right? Now, can you switch that to machine learning based? That's the first challenge. Once that is not done, forget it. Can you switch that to an Internet of Things based challenge? If it's not there, and that's probably the most difficult thing. The easiest bit is to actually implement it, because you have 1001 coders out there who, if you define the problem very well, are able to implement it in a second, but they cannot create the problem. So what we do is we meet companies, right? And look at their problems and look at the challenges, probably better, to put it that way. What are the challenges you have? This and that and that. Okay, how about if we do this? We can do this and that. Does that sound good? If you give us that, we can give you that. So I'll just give you 2 quick examples. We have one project on air pollution prediction. We have another on sewer defect detection. I'll be as brief as I can. Air pollution. Okay, so we want to predict air pollution. People are vulnerable. We have vulnerable people who have respiratory diseases, and when they are exposed to high level of air pollution, it triggers something. There's what they call complication. They develop complications and they might have to go to the hospital. Here in the UK, it's NHS. It's free for everyone so long as you've paid your tax and blah blah blah. And so there's massive workload on NHS because of the number of people going there. Can we help these people to improve their quality of life by using machine learning to predict what air pollution levels would be in their area of interest so that they can avoid places at the times of high pollution level? If they close 5 o'clock and their route home is going to have massive air pollution, they can decide to wait till 6 or 7 before they go home, or take another route or something like that. So we look at that with machine learning. We speak to air quality companies. We can try this, if you give us this type of data, that type of data, if we have IoT and we have that and that. Another is we spoke to a sewer inspection company. Instead of you to keep going into the sewer, write report and all of that, we cooperated with a drone company called Clogworks. Can you create a drone that goes in the sewer and just takes a video, send us the video, upload the video into cloud? We create a machine learning algorithm and big data on AWS, big data infrastructure, use their SageMaker for machine learning. And once the video gets uploaded, we split it into hundreds of thousands of images and quickly show you the ones that have defects. And all of this will be automated, and that would save you time and cost, And that sounds good. Let's give it a try. Obviously, Rome wasn't built in a day. It might not be the first stage that we crack all the problems, but we crack it first and see what challenges we have, and then we go again. We do sort for funding. Nothing is free, as you know. I have to pay my researchers. And the university won't just pay everything for free. The university will support you as much as they can. University of Hertfordshire and my dean, they've been wonderful. They've been supporting me thoroughly. So I have to look out for funds, convince funders. This is good. This can help us. It can help the UK tribe. It can help these companies do things, and so on and so forth. That's the summary of what we do. Within that, we take on PhDs who work on these things. We take on research fellows, researchers, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So your job is to guide all these guys to deliver results on your responsibilities to your funders and the ideas you come up with. And then you are doing very well, Well, all this you have said now.
I hope so.
All this you have said now is not as easy as you have made it to look, But if you put in effort, of course, you can get there. So back to, I want to go back a bit, right? Because I know you do not do as much teaching as you used to do before, right? And I remember in one of our conversations, which I shouldn't be bringing out, but I will bring it out. In one of our conversations, you said, why you still want to teach, you think you need to put in more effort into your research. And that is why you wanted to change your job at the time you changed your job. Okay. How did you identify that beyond teaching, okay, it is research that does it for you?
Okay, so I think that's an interesting question in the sense that there's a saying I normally have, you know, notice, yeah, we say it, myself and my colleagues would say things like, coming into the lecturing job, you would have thought teaching was the key thing, but once you get there, you would realize research is the key thing. So I came into lecturing because I wanted to teach, because I had the teaching skills, and people thought not just the skills, the talent, it's natural. Like you said, I used to explain things right from young days. But once you got there, you realize that doesn't probably get you to the top easily. Virtually everyone can teach. It's just a case of how good you teach. Right? I can put you in front of a class and you say what you know. The students might give you poor feedback, but you can improve on that. But not everyone can actually just go and get a paper published. It's peer-reviewed, it's difficult in good journals. Not everyone can actually have good ideas to research on and get the funding. It's difficult. For every £1 out there, you have probably thousands of academics rushing for it to do their idea and all of that. If you can do those things, you stand out. In the environment we are, and I'm thinking of the best way to put this so that I don't put it wrong, you would agree with me that the UK is very good in management, right? So there is the management route up front, and I don't think you want to compete with the locals in that area because first, they are good at it naturally. It's where they thrive. But also there's the home advantage. So you'd be risking it a lot if you go in that direction, and it'll take you forever. Believe you me, it will take you forever. However, research is where a lot of people have gone and have popped out, and that will keep happening in the academic world. People will go to research, and after a while they'll have this, no, this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. It's never going to work. It's never going to happen. And that's why there's a secret in the academic world. And I won't say too much. I'll say this one and I'll leave it. That's why you can find people in lecturer or senior lecturer for the rest of their lives. Because to move up to reader or associate professor, which is essentially the same thing, reader, associate professor, or a professor, that's where the key trouble is. That's where you need to demonstrate serious research prowess. Okay, probably a rough estimate, which can be very wrong, don't quote me, or let me not put a percentage. A very large percentage of professors and readers are research professors and readers. There's a very small amount that are not, But if you want to go there, you're likely to get there with the research route. So once we got into academia and realized that, oh, it's research you need to do. Oh, I think it was mainly our mentor while we're doing our PhD and research fellow with him. He made us do a lot of research. So the thing about academic world is it's a win-win situation. You do a lot of research, you publish, you write funding, he wins it, your name is on it. And that shows, and when you apply for a job, they say, oh, you've done this for someone. You must have that experience. And everybody is looking for this sort of thing. You might not find people looking for you quickly in your area, but by the time they look for you, you'd be outstanding. That's where I got to know it. And that's how all of that has come to. I'm sure I've left a few things, uncompleted, but I think I've answered your key question of how did I move? It's by realizing that, oh, this is research. This is not all about teaching. You can teach as much as you want. It's interesting. You love it. You like your students, the interaction. I love to, find out students are improving because of me. They are liking a module subject because of me. But if that's not getting me anywhere, if that's not getting me to my aspirations, I've set my eyes. I say, okay, is it professorship? That's where we have to go. Let's do what we can do and hope for God blessings. And very importantly, a lot of people are putting in a lot of effort. It's God blessings that matters most.
Yeah. Thanks for that extensive explanation. And you are now a professor. What next? What next?
Good question. Good question, in the sense that that's one of the things I said, that when you have a target and then when you meet that target, what's going to be left as your motivation? This is even something that came up even within my own university, that look, you at this moment you are hot, but we're concerned that when you get your professorship, you just sit back and relax. And we don't want that to happen. I think first and foremost, professorship is like a hot plate in a lot of cases. If you sit down and relax too much and you don't do your research, they would find a way of showing you the door, even though there is no clear way, because you're a permanent staff. But believe you me, they know their way around. Also, look, he's just earning this amount of money, he's not adding value. Show him the way, because they know by the time they show you the door, no other university will give you professorship, because you're not active. If you're active, if they show you the door, straight away you are elsewhere, right? So where next? In terms of academic, there are two things that can be next. One is within the professorial range, there is a scale. First, you might want to keep going up to earn more money. To do that, you even have to break more glass ceiling beyond what you've done before. That's the first thing. And it's very, very difficult, because at that point in time, you're not looking for something bigger than professorship. You're talking just in monetary terms. And that is another game entirely. Now, the second thing is you now want to go through research management. So there are the management roles, but you won't get to the real management roles, because some people are dedicated their own career all the while, the same way you've dedicated your career to research. Some people were being module leaders, course directorship, student satisfaction, experience manager, blah, 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 blah. And that's what they've done all through their lives. And they've been managing, and they understand all of the, student area system better. And universities are student focused in most cases, right? So you really can get, but there's also the research management area. For example, you can be the research leader, head of research, associate dean research, deputy vice chancellor research, blah, blah, blah. So those key management people will always employ somebody that looks after the research. Okay, so one of those roles is what I am doing right now as the Director of Digital Technologies and Innovation Lab. So I've been sort of said, oh, this guy is good in this thing, let him head this area. So you then want to move up in that management role. Now, when you see that as the next step, a lot of personal issue comes in, right? And there are things which you don't agree with, but you can't say you don't agree with, which you might need to key into seriously if you move into those roles. That can be a barrier. It's been a barrier for me, because you have to make that decision yourself. I won't say more than that. I'll leave it at that. But hopefully at some point, what I'm thinking is if I can find something that is more research specific with less responsibility with certain things that I don't want to get involved in, that's the sort of thing I might be looking at.
I can understand. You have broken this thing up in a very, very clear way, right? But let's go back a bit into the field now, not academia, not because your dad is a builder, and perhaps that is where your interest in civil engineering, came from. You said?
He's a developer.
Yes, okay, he's a developer, not a builder, sorry. Your dad is a developer. And that's where your interest in civil engineering might have, come from, right? And I want to believe that your interest will be in field, and you have explained how you got into this academic thing. Would you be interested in being a field guy going forward, maybe as a consultant or something?
It's a tricky question. It's a tricky question because it has a lot of things associated with it. There has to be a motivation to take me to field. So I have a friend from Yaba Tech days who we went together like that till MSc. And then he said, no, I don't want academic. I don't want to be an academic. I don't want to go into academia. I'm going into the field. And I said, I want to be an academic. And we're still working and we're sort of progressing at the same level, you know. So he's in the field, I'm in the academics. And I see that all the time. And I tend to look, okay, what would lure me to the field if it's civil engineering? I don't see much that can lure me to the field. Maybe there's something I've not mentioned. I don't really like being in the office 9 to 5 every day. Personally, my nature, I think I'll fumble a bit if I do that in terms of character. I think I'll become uncomfortable and exhibit a few, unnecessary stuff. I've done it. The days I taught you AutoCAD, I used to work like that, and there used to be complaints. I thrive better in this free environment, academic environment, where I don't have to be in the office 9 to 5 every day, but I have to get the job done. And I must be in the office when necessary, be in class when necessary. So if I have to be in class, I would be in class. But I don't have to wake up every day, go 9 and close 5 p.m. every day. I'd probably achieve more if I wasn't doing that. So it's difficult for me to go back to the field, except a few things are there. First, I'll have similar freedom. Secondly, I'd have to earn a lot, but I've not really developed a career in the field. So to then go from academic to the top, it would be a bit difficult. People are in the field, they've done a lot in their lives and all of that, the grass is always greener on the other side. Maybe that's not the case for me now. People say, oh, maybe I should go to academic. Oh, maybe I should go to the field. And I saw a short video on LinkedIn once that said, if you decide to go and join is it the field from academics or the academics from the field? And it showed this Charlie Champagne video where a train was fully loaded and people were, on it like it's a motorway. And the guy was looking for a place to get, and as soon as he takes someone, they push him down. He picks this, they push him down. And at some point, he just held 2 guys and the train left. He actually pulled the 2 guys down. So he was starting to tell people that if you try to go to the other side, it's so filled up, you better be sure you know what you're doing before you go there. So I don't think I want to go to the field anytime soon. I think if anything, I'll be looking into being more like you, in terms of going entrepreneurial and being independent, so that I can then pick more on what I just want to do, rather than look at the monetary perspective and job security perspective and all of that. So if anything, I want to start investing. We're getting to that stage in life, and we need a secondary source, and a good one at that. So the overall answer is no, I wouldn't want to look into the field at the moment, but the reason for the explanation is just in case you see me in the field next year, you don't say, oh, this guy said no. It might have been Saudi Aramco said, oh, we need all your big data experience. Come and apply it for us in our research department. We'll pay you $300,000 per year, no tax. Thank you very much. I'll be here. It's even a Muslim country.
All right. So, now, because I know your family very well, right? I'll say that you, Waliu, Bralukman, you guys are the people that are in this kind of environment, corporate environment. The rest of you guys, straight from school, you go into business. That is the architecture of your family, which is similar to mine. Most of us, even at times you have master's degree, but you still do what? Go into business. Because that's what we saw our parents, that's what we saw them, do. And we are, to be honest with ourselves, yeah, I know God put his barakah in what they did, but that's perhaps why they could afford to give us the like kind of life they gave us,
Absolutely, absolutely.
right? Why didn't you choose business? Why, why not business? Because most of your guys, they did it and they are thriving in it. Because
So,
it seems to me it is in your blood. Because I have seen some kind of pitching in all of these charts we are having, some pitching. I say, I don't pitch.
because you
Why?
are, yeah, it's because you are an entrepreneur, and it's because I have to pitch to funders. So different jobs will bring different challenges, but they might be similar in one way or the other. The whole pitching is because I have to pitch to funders. No funders, your idea can die with you. We all know that. So why didn't I go into business? I think one other thing you probably want to mention about people that have gone into business is that it gives them that independence as well. They don't have to serve anybody really. They can stay within their world and remain confident. There's nobody marking you and all of that. I think maybe two things didn't make me do business. Maybe two things. I think if you say it's in us to do business, I'd agree with you to an extent. I would say our dads, like you said, God put his barakah. They found what some people would call, don't let me use the word. They found the best area that they could invest in, and they thrived, right? As with many entrepreneurs, many of my brothers have done different things before they found what they have done now, right? I feared failure a bit because I tried businesses as well. As I went into the corporate world right from Nigeria. I worked for different civil engineering firms, right? And I invested the money I got in different businesses. I bought Okada, didn't work. I sold cards with some people. I was buying cards for them, not one person, two different. So that phone call and card business didn't work. I did one more thing which I can't remember. I just went off my head now. Didn't work. Okay. One thing I learned, except you want to be there yourself, people will eat the money. It's one thing that the business idea, doesn't get to fly. It's another thing that it flies and the people there are holding the wings down. So you have two problems to solve. First is to have a good business. Second is to make sure that nobody is holding it down. So I sort of felt like if I'm not there, I think it's unwise to put my money there. So I just said, okay, if that's the case, I'd rather, probably work somewhere for now. That's one. The second thing is, I think there was this rising willingness in me once I got myself back from the SS2, SS3 thing that, Mumawa Kai wage, I will have to show that, I can do this. I can get back to this. And once I started doing that and realized I needed a PhD and wanted a PhD, what else? I got a PhD. I got many offers from universities in the UK. It's what you don't have that looks of big value. When we're getting it, it was like magic. Are you serious? They want me in a UK university as a lecturer, as a senior lecturer, as blah, blah, blah. All of that just left the entrepreneurial aspect out, and I think that's how I got into this corporate world. And like I said, I have my eyes firmly fixed on doing something entrepreneurial at the moment, and I'm pushing for that. But that's on the side. That's not taking away my career at all at the moment. No, it would have to be something big. I'd have to be earning like hundreds of millions of naira for me to drop this academic route at the moment. I've invested a lot of my life in it and I'm enjoying it at the moment. Thank God.
At the back of you saying that you have invested a lot of your life in it, so are you saying because the sink cost is too high, that is why you cannot leave it? Or the opportunity cost, I mean, because it sounds like you are thinking, okay, because I've done this for too long, I've put in sweat, blood, and energy into it. That's why I don't want to leave it, because that seems to me like that's what I'm hearing. right? So I think I need to push this question further. I want to understand why, because you are not even 40 yet. Okay, and you are there already, a professor, Professor Alaka. Nobody is contesting that again. It is not the professor that I gave you, because I've always called you professor. This is a professor that a school has stamped. Okay, and you still have, God willing, we will live long and have plenty years ahead of us, inshallah. And what is next, Hafiz? What is next?
Well, it's two different questions. So I probably take the first question because you've explained that better. We might talk about what is next later. So what you're asking is it the seed? Is it the effort that has been put in? I think what made me say that, if you look at what led to that, is I'm saying that, okay, if I'm going into entrepreneurship now and say sort of I'm making a lot of money, that won't let me leave the academia at the moment, because of the seed I've put into it, right? That if that's going to force me to leave academia, it will be a massive amount of money, and it will still be difficult for me to leave, Yes, it's the seed, but not just the seed. It's at the prime. I've put the seed, the germination is at its prime. I'm at the moment where, if you like, say everything is booming. It's not the best word, but for someone that is not there, that doesn't understand the academic industry, I mean, again, thank God, maybe something I shouldn't really be saying, but just to put it in context, you've spoken about my age. I have people that have been in academia for 25 years. I have people that are over 50 years old. Many of them coming to me to benefit out of this. Please let me be a second supervisor on your PhD. Many of them have never supervised a PhD. They've never had a research project that is funded, or they've had 2,000, 3,000. We have got millions of pounds. They've never fully employed a researcher or be a line manager. I give opportunities to people to come and, join the interview panel for my researchers, manage my researchers partly. When they get their papers out, I'm so busy, go and give it to this doctor, go and give it to that doctor. They would be, superbly willing. They'll be able to put it on their CV. Things I'm doing now are things that many people are willing to do within the academic world. It's a dream. They want it. They are fighting for it. They are dying for it. I can't leave it at that point. I'm thanking God for everything. It might not look, people outside academia might not understand, but people within academia understand it. Yes, there are many professors doing it, but it's very difficult to get to that point. And that's why I became a professor at this early, stage of my career, very early stage of my career. And I thank God for that. So I've put in so much, sleepless nights. My health is affected, whether you like it or not, because of these things. I've been scarred mentally because of, all of these things. Why I say all of these things, it's not just me. People have done this, and some people weren't successful. They were scarred mentally. They had sleepless nights. They put in the right effort, but as God wishes, he didn't put his blessing for it to happen. I've done it, and God has put the blessing for me. Some people don't do it, they don't bother, because they just look at it and say, is that what I'd rather not go that way. I've put in all this effort elsewhere. I can remember at least one person, again, I can't mention names, who said, I'd rather put half that effort in entrepreneurship and make a lot of money, because I'm almost certain I'll make the money, that put the effort in research where I'm not certain to get the results. So one, we say research is bad for something. Research, in the academic world, it's bad for something. It's something where if we can measure energy, and in human energy, I think the energy in electrical is in joules or something. If you put 100 joules of energy in it, you might not get anything. Somebody can put 20 joules and get something that is much better than you, as with life normally, and then rise, but it's difficult for that to happen. You'll be very, very lucky. So yes, it's the amount of investment I've made in terms of, I'll put it as my life. and is germinating at this point, I wouldn't want to just leave and everything collapses. For anybody in the academic world that sees me leave, it would want to speak to me that, Shayo ma share,
Joe Badu, boy, Joe Badu. So on this note, Hafiz, let us wrap this up. I must thank you so much for being kind to give me your time. I know you are an extremely busy person. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And hopefully our audience, when they see it, they'll connect with all the things you have said, and they will see that life is not bed of roses. Yes, some of us, we had privileges, and we had what Warren Buffett would call ovarian lottery, but that did not really give us where we are today. We put in some effort, and it has shown in this conversation. I'm very proud of you personally. Okay, extremely, I am extremely proud of you. In fact, recently I changed your name on my phone from your nickname to Professor Hafiz Alaka, because I just wanted to be proud. I have a friend that is a professor. What are you guys telling me? I am happy to have this conversation. Last thing, we won't wrap it up yet. I want to go into another thing you did with extreme passion. Your nickname. Your full nickname is Hafiz Bone. So many people will see you now and they will think you are one afar. We know you got addicted on Bone Thugs and Harmony. And because of that, you give yourself Hafiz Bone. How did you connect with Bone Thugs and Harmony so much back in the day?
Okay, I just hope I don't forget what I'm trying to say back to you in terms of the end of the program, but I'll try to be quick on this. There's a guy called Nancy, you know him, in secondary school, and there used to be different social programs in secondary schools, and we had these social programs, and he mimed Bone Thugs and Harmony, and they're so fast, and everybody was going like, Nancy, oh, he's so fast. Bone Thugs and Harmony are so fast, and he can rap them, and I just loved that people are going. And that was the reward for me. There's always a reward when you have so much passion. Like, people can be like, oh, Hafiz is so fast. But these are unnecessary distractions. Anyway, we need to make that very clear. I wish I didn't I didn't need to do that, because it was a massive distraction. But yeah, answering your question, that was it. I liked that. And then I was like, oh, I'll also be able to sing Bone Thugs and Harmony, and started getting the records and blah, blah, blah. And I started loving it. And I listened to them well into my HND. And somehow I made quite a number of people their fans, to the extent that when I started becoming closer to my God, I had to reach out to a few people that, look, it's nonsense. This Bone Thugs and Harmony. I don't want to be the person that is responsible for you to be listening to them and all of that. Yeah, so that's how that came about, and I became Hafiz Bone, because they are all bone, the crazy bone, lazy bone, wishbone, flesh and bone. I listened to their albums until I bought I think the last album I bought was in 2005. They were quite old. I don't know if that's their last album. I didn't follow up anymore, but nobody was expecting them to have an album at that age, and they said it, and I was singing it. And sometimes, music comes to my head. I sing it in my head. I have to control myself and say, oh, come on, what nonsense. It still comes to my head. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I hope you did too.
Yeah, I did. I think it's my pleasure. I think one of the things I failed to mention, which I want to mention now, and I think it's the best time to mention it, is that having good friends also matter. It's important to mention that the SS stage, I was friends with you, with Dipo, with Aziz, and that was very good. And you guys were more intelligent than I was. And there is a lady, I don't know if you like her name to be mentioned. She did something that also helped me. There was a day we had an assignment, And then we didn't do it over the weekend. And then we got to, you guys said, and we got to class, and we went to a lab very early before assembly, and you guys started doing it, and you were sort of brainstorming together, and the lady was with us. And I was just waiting. And once you guys agreed and wrote, I wrote. I think it was SS1 or something. And at some point, I'll just say, you guys need to agree quickly. You're arguing too much. And the lady said, if I could strike her that day, I would have. It was as funny as it is now. It was so disgraceful, and the way we take it, that a girl is telling you, but she was contributing actively. I'm pretty sure you know the person I'm talking about.
I can't remember the incidents. I'm sorry, but
yeah, but I don't want to mention her name because I don't know how she's going to take it. I take it is something positive I'm talking about her, because she was quite intelligent. She was quite intelligent, and I have nothing against her. Absolutely.
I cannot. I know, of course.
Yeah. So this is just something that I'm happy happened. It was part of it. It was very shameful for me. And I think I was very, very happy for the fact that I think it was the last term, which was first term SS3, that we were going to have report cards, and I was third or second or something like that. And the people within first and 10 always know themselves, and they're like, first, people were looking for a second, but they weren't looking for me.
Yeah.
And this same lady got to know it was me. I was like, how come? Next time I will say there's no next time, unfortunately. So I'd say I'd appreciate that, because I used to come to you. I remember this maths, blah blah blah. You would say, oh, this way, go and do 20 questions. I was like, 20 questions. But I think you got that from the lessons you were attending. They would teach you and they would tell you to do a lot. But it was too massive for me, because I'd rather play with all my time. Why spend so much time? And what's still you got 20 questions. You just think, oh, I put a lot of effort, and you come back and say, oh, you made a mistake there. Oh my God. So I think that was very positive. I think, being with you guys, that was why I said, oh, we'll go to a good university, OAU. Oh, let's do JAM. We'll pick engineering, even though the cutoff is high. And all of that, I think that rubbed off greatly. That was why you called me about the Cyprus thing. That was why we both did IJMB. That was why when I wanted to get into universities, Uniloni was one of the universities. I came to you, you supported me. We went to people in order to get help for me to get into Uniloni twice, even though it didn't work out. You made the effort and all of that. So I think that's a great positive, to have somebody positive around you. So I'm quite proud of you two, to be honest, without being flattering. We saw you, we saw how you went on to do things, not necessarily just in the mechanical that you read. You became flexible. I think we spoke about that once, that I also became flexible. You moved, you were in Dubai, you worked for different companies, you've worked to the top, you've moved to Australia with your family. And I mean, it's great. Without being bad to others, a lot of people want to do what you've done. People have gone to different places, they've not been successful. We won't all be successful by traveling. They will be successful in their own ways, but I just want to point out that you're doing great, and we're quite proud of you too. And it's
thank you, brother. Thank you, Hafiz. Thank you. Awesome. My regards to the family, and God continue to bless you, my brother. Cheers.
Take care and bye for now. Bye bye.
Bye. Salam.